And so we're going to put parentheses in here for A and for C. So A looks like this, and there's C. What's A? -1, and C is -3. That's our friends from doing integers. Keaton, there's your worksheet right there. Remember doing this? We did this before. No, I tested you on this. So if you really are struggling with this, hopefully we can do it without a calculator, but if you need a calculator, do a calculator. We have to get this concept of changing subtraction to adding the opposite, because it's going to come back and haunt us. Jeff, pay attention. It's going to come back and haunt us when we combine similar terms, which I put off to next week. So what is a -1 and a +3 added together? It's 1 to the left, but it's 3 back. There's 1. What's the answer? Or you could have one negative and 3 positives. You can do it that way. What happens to the positive and the negative? Kill each other off. What's left? What's left? Positive or negatives? Positive. How many? 2. You don't have to write the positive. So if I do my calculator, it'll take a second to bring it up. That's slow. I'm going to type it in as written, -1 minus a -3. There's even other ways to do this if you're interested in having the calculator do all the work. Okay, so I'm going to clear that out. That's all calculus. And it's now, when you do this calculator, it's very picky about the negative and the subtraction. It's a -1, and then it's subtract 3. Oh, what did I do? What, was it -1? Oh, I messed up on that. -4. How did I mess up? Let's see what I did. It's a -1 minus, oh, a -3. Whoops, I messed that up. No, that's correct for that, but that's not what this problem is. That was right the first time. See, sometimes trust yourself. It's a negative, I'm going to clear that. It's a -1, whoops, wrong sign. It'll give me an error if I do that, minus, parentheses, a -3. I don't know. We could try entering it without parentheses, but I don't think it's going to like it. And there it is, 2. Let me try it without parentheses. -1, subtract -3. They don't seem to mind if you don't put the parentheses in. Let me make that smaller. Okay, so those are two different problems. This is not the original problem. This is A plus C, which is A, which is a -1, plus a -3. I just typed it in wrong. Let's do this one. A divided by C. What's A? I'm not going to use a calculator. What's A? -1. What's C? -3. That's a fraction. What's wrong with a fraction? What is that? 2 negatives make a positive. We just tested on this, right? Positive 1/3. Well, I couldn't find my equation editor. I really wanted you to do this. I wanted a squared. Here's where it's critical to put those parentheses in. So put the parentheses in squared and now replace a. What's a? -1. What's -1 squared? It's a -1 times a -1, which is a positive 1. Now I can show you how to do it on the Inspire. You can actually type in those values and then you just type in the expressions and it will do everything for you. But when we're working with algebraic expressions, I don't want to be dependent on a calculator to do easy things. To do hard things, yes. Okay, what is this one telling us to do? Number 4. What's that one tell us to do? Whoops. Set that one down. What does AC mean? Riley, do you know? It needs multiply. Plus, and then what am I going to do with A and B? Multiply. So I'm just making this a little more challenging by putting in the negative numbers. Well, what was A? Negative 1. So it's still the same idea. What's C? Negative 3. And then I have A is negative 1 and B is 2. Order of operations. You have to multiply this first. What's negative 1 times a negative 3? Think of negative 1 is meaning I'm going to multiply, I'm going to opposite that negative 3. What's the opposite of negative 3? Yeah. And this is, what's the opposite of a negative 2? So I've got them all mixed up now. No, opposite, yeah, I said that right, you answered correctly, I said it wrong. It's the opposite of a positive 2. That's what happens when I get sick. It's opposite of positive 2, it's a negative 2. What's 3 plus a negative 2?
1.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if anybody's seen this last one. I call it a challenge, because it's a challenge for most people.
3.
Does anybody recognize that formula? It's a formula. This is called the quadratic formula. You will see it next year in your algebra class. It's a way to solve a particular kind of equation. It's a formula. You substitute in. Now, you guys should be doing this in science class, right? Doing some substitutions? Okay, let's get this ready. This is how I teach it in algebra when I get there. It's minus b, so I'm going to put a parentheses in for my b, plus, actually there's plus minus, but I couldn't type plus minus, and that's okay. And then we have a square root. And then it's going to be b squared minus 4a and c, all over 2 times a. So I get everything ready to go. I put all my parentheses in. So put all your parentheses in, and then we'll fill in the numbers. I have an easier way to do this, but right now I'm trying to get us to understand substitute and evaluate. When we get this down, then I'll show you an easier way. If we get back to it, I don't know if we will. Okay. Are we ready? Does everybody have their parentheses? Dean, do you have your parentheses there? Can't do it without parentheses. Because what you're going to do with B, well, B ends up being positive numbers, so I'm safe. Okay, what's A? Negative 1. So that's a negative 1 for A. What's B? 2. So I'll put 2 in here, 2 in here, and this is an A, and that's a C. A was negative 1. What's C? Negative 3. And honestly, where do we have the difficulty in all my classes? Right here with this piece. So you might want to put on your calculator, but I would do just the numerator and then hit divided by negative 2 is how, if I was going to use a calculator, but I'm not going to use a calculator. So what's a negative 2? It's a negative 2 plus the square root of, what's 2 squared? What's 2 squared? I'm going to have a little problem here. But what's 2 times 2? 4. What's going to be the result of all those negative signs? Is it going to be a plus sign or a minus sign? What if I multiply a negative 1 times a negative 1 times a negative 1? This is going to give me what? These are going to kill each other off. Positive 1. What's a positive 1 times a negative 1? Negative 1. So this is a negative sign, and what's 4 times 1 times 3? The calculator is going to have a fit here. What's 4 times 1 times 3? Is 12. And what's the denominator? Because it's still there. And by the way, some of you don't want to put the denominator in and you like to put it in later. Don't you dare do that, because I'm going to mark it wrong. Because it's wrong. What's this give you? 2 times a negative 1 is a what? Are you guys awake? 2 times negative 1. Keaton, what's 2 times negative 1? What does a negative do? It just changes the sign to Negative. Yeah, let's not make it hard. Okay, one last step. We simplify what's underneath that square root. We have a little problem with that. Your calculator will give you a problem. What's 4 take away 12? If I have $4 in my checking account and I write a check for 12, what's happened? I get a negative 8. I wouldn't expect you to simplify any further than this. Can I square root a negative number? Well, let's try it. Can I square root a negative number? Because you know what a square root is? I don't know. Do you know what it is? Okay, there's square root. It's this blue key. Nothing that hard today, but it's just an interesting thing. There it is. Square root of negative 8. Non-real answer. That's where we get our imaginary numbers from. When you get into algebra 2, we get imaginary numbers. Can't square root a negative number. Because what's a square root? What's the square root of 4? That's 2. What's the square root of 9? 3. Because what it's asking you, if I do the square root of 16, what's that? 4. It's saying what number times itself gives you, and let's make it a square root of negative 4. What will give me a negative 4? The only way to get a negative is a positive 2 and a negative 2, and that's not a square. Square means they have to be the same numbers. Because if I do 2 times 2, I get positive 4. If I do negative 2 times negative 2, I still get positive 4. I can't do it. It has a meaning, but we won't worry about the meaning. So that's all I wanted to do is show you what what you need to do. Now, we are going to do a little fun worksheet. You need to get yesterday's worksheet done first, turned in, and then I've given you not an easy worksheet, but you cannot do it in the space provided. You either can have your own paper or I'll give you paper. Doesn't matter to me. Let me pause this. And we'll do maybe we'll do one of the hard ones. I know some of you are very resistant to this showing the substitution, but we need to do that. Do I have any negatives? Let's not do the easy one. Let's do the hard one. Let's go down to S. S looks hard. So first thing you do, you're going to label it on your sheet of paper, what letter it is. You're going to copy the problem. Kind of spoiled with the worksheets, aren't you? Okay, I just want to figure out what that is. So I'm going to get this ready. This is the opposite of C. So it's minus, and it's C plus 5m minus 3. And if I want to write it right above there, I will, if that helps you. Now, what am I going to put in for C? C is what? C? Keaton, what's C here? I'm going to put that right there. What am I going to put in for M? 2. You guys, you have to show that step. Even if you avoid the parentheses, you have to show that step. Because when I do it in my head, I sometimes mix them up. I get the wrong answer. And what's important is not just the answer, but how you get to the answer. If you learn to do this now, next year will be so much easier. What's this going to give me? Corey, do you know? What are these two negatives going to do to each other? Oh, sorry, not that. How about you? 2 negatives make a? Yeah, so this is 5. What's 5 times 2? 10. Take away 3, and adding from left to right. I'm going to show the step, but you can add the whole thing together. I'm okay with that. It's 5 and 10. 15, take away 3 is 12. Okay, now for the fun part, the puzzle. Oh, this one's not bad. You see 12 is at the very end of the first line. That's your S. Are there any other 12s there? Where is it? Oh yeah, about 1/3 of the way through the bottom line. Make you think about 1/3 of the way what that is. Okay, so the rest of the time is for you to work, ask questions, get help. If you don't know what you're doing, you got to ask. And I want you to show your work. I guess I